Huge two-legged tie gets underway tomorrow where Red Star will take on Maccabi Haifa in Israel. This is the playoff round of Champions League qualifying, so the winner of the two-legged tie will go into the Champions League group stage, and the loser will go to the Europa League group stage. So far, from what I'm hearing and what I've read, it's going to be a full stadium in Israel. Seats about 30,000, should be packed. There will be some Red Star fans there, I think around 1,500 of them. So I kind of did some homework on Maccabi Haifa. It's really hard figuring out kind of what their weaknesses are when they have so many strengths in their team. So basically, kind of their style of play is speed, high press, and make their opponents capitalize off their mistakes. And as I've watched all of the goals that they scored against Limassol and Olympiacos, who they beat in the second round, I believe it was, of Champions League qualifying. All their goals, the speed that they play at is very high, very fast team. And it's something that Red Star, if they don't control, then Haifa will score a number of goals in the match in Israel. Defensively, they play a little bit of a high line, which means that, for the speedy players of Red Star, like someone like Usman Bukhari, who can get behind them maybe, Stefan Mitrovic, we'll see, what happens with him and how much he plays. But I think this is a perfect time for those players to kind of use their speed to kind of get behind their defenders, but their back line is very good, very solid. The goals that they conceded against Limassol, they won the first match 4-0. Maccabi Haifa did, and then they lost 2-0 in the return leg in Cyprus. Both the goals came off set pieces. So one was off a free kick that was, I believe, was headed out by a Maccabi Haifa player, and the ball kind of bounced around a little bit, and I don't know who the player for Limassol was, but he scored a really nice goal, and it was almost a carbon copy of the second goal, which came from a corner kick. Same type of stuff. The ball was kind of cleared out, not all the way, but out of the box, and then it was kind of thrown back in, and another great goal was scored. I believe it was from the left side, and just curled it in past the goalkeeper. But I think that's something that Red Star kind of has in the back of their mind, that maybe we could make Haifa pay off corner kicks, off set pieces. I assume Milunovic is going to start, so his height can be used on set pieces and defending set pieces. I think that's very important. Again, no Dragovic, which is a huge blow for Red Star in this match after he picked up his second yellow against Punic, which I think Dan Stankovic should have taken him off a number of minutes before that. You're up 7-0 in aggregate. There's no point of leaving players in who already have yellow cards. And I think, that Dragovic should have been subbed off. But I think in hindsight, it's very easy to say that right now. I think, kind of like in the heat of the moment and in the match, and even though it's 7-0, you still have to keep some players out there. And I think Stankovic just ended up choosing to keep Dragovic out there, and it didn't really pay dividends for him. Periot is, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Periot is their striker, who is very strong. He has kind of like Lukaku characteristics, in the sense that he can really hold the ball up and he can really protect it well. Very strong on the ball. His link-up play is also very good for a big man. He can link up with the midfield, with Sherry and whoever, Haziza, doesn't matter. He can link up with all those guys. Very interesting. So if I were doing the lineup for Red Star, I am not sure that I would start Milunovic in this match. I've thought about this for 3 or 4 days. I would go with someone stronger, like Sekou Sanogo as a center back, because he is stronger. He can protect the ball well. In all of this, the most important thing is to not foul any of the Maccabi Haifa players anywhere close to the box, because Sherry scored an outstanding goal against, I think it was Olympiacos in their second round matchup, from a free kick just outside the 18-yard box, placed the top corner. Very nice shot, and he has a history of scoring goals from distance. That's something that Red Star is going to have to really, really focus in on. So guys like Kanga and Kangwa are gonna have to cover him, full pitch pretty much, because he's willing to let guys shots go from 30, 35 yards out. So I think that's something that Stankovic has in the back of his mind when it comes to Sherry. Again, Milunovic just has been very shaky since rejoining the club. The passing has been awful. The man marking, late on tackles. I think it's an array of different things that just he hasn't done very well since returning to the team. And I would really question, putting Sonogo there as one of the center backs. I don't think he's going to play a three center back system because, again, Milunovic, that would mean Milunovic is in there again, and there's just not that center back unless Stankovic does play Sonogo. I haven't really thought too much about, I usually think a lot about tactically, like the lineups that are going to be sent out. I honestly haven't thought about it much in this match. I think it could maybe even be a 4-3-3 formation. We'll see what happens. Some of the stuff that I read that maybe Usman Bakari isn't going to be in the starting lineup just because defensively he's a little bit of a liability where, you could kind of throw in Sonogo there and you still have Irakovic and Milunovic start. I still don't think Milunovic should start this match. He has picked up 2 yellow cards, if we remember back to Copenhagen, early in the second half, and then we had to play something like 60, 70 minutes man down. Luckily, we were able to win that on PKs, but that's something that I would keep in the back of my mind with Milunovic. And again, he's not in great form, so it's not like you're taking a player who's out of form and putting him on the bench, which is kind of what you'd be doing with Bukhari, which I don't really agree with that. Ali Muhammad, very strong in duels, loves connecting defensive play with the offensive play. He's kind of like their organizer, although to be fair, their entire midfield is their organizers. They link up very well with the attacking players. So I mentioned Ali Muhammad, he scored 2 goals. I think it was against Limassol in Israel. He's a guy who, just kind of pinches in slowly, quietly, and both the goals that he scored were inside the box. So he just, quietly kind of eases in, and you don't really maybe even notice him that much. But he's kind of like their engine in the midfield there, and almost everything kind of runs through him or Sherry. I've mentioned Sherry as played in Netherlands and then in England, some of the lower tier clubs, so he has a ton of experience. There was a question mark if he's going to be playing in this match due to injury, but he will play. Dean David, I believe, is their left winger. Not the greatest finisher. He had 1 assist against Limassol, so I think that's another player that you're going to kind of have to keep an eye on. He can play as a center forward as well, but again, his finishing isn't that great, so I think they kind of shift him out to left wing. I already mentioned Sherry, don't give him any chances anywhere close to the 18-yard box because he's going to let shots fly. And I think this is very important when it comes, when Kanga and Kangwa come into play. I think one of those guys needs to be on Sherry at all times, or even if Sonogo was in there, I think he's another player that needs to be glued onto him and make sure he doesn't get anything easy. All it takes is a few passes, a few good chances for a player to kind of get into rhythm, and then he could cause us serious problems. So I think we need to cut that out before it even gets started. In the Red Stars side of things, I think Alexander Kata needs to be a lot better than he has been in the last 3 matches. So the 2 against Punic, he wasn't very good, and this past weekend in Red Stars win, he wasn't very good either. I fully believe that he can bounce back. He's a quality player. Mirko Ivanic had 3 assists on the weekend. If Kata could play a little bit better, I think this Red Star team could be very scary. Alexander Pešić is back from injury. We'll see how much he plays. He will be on the bench, but he's only played something like 18 minutes this season. Ibrahim Mustafa hasn't traveled with the team due to illness, and Milan Palkov isn't over his stomach virus either. So both of them are suffering from a stomach virus. I think Milan Palkov's not traveling with the team is a huge deal because 6 goals in 6 matches and an assist. I think we're kind of downplaying how important he is to this club and how important he has been to this club since he's come here. I think people just kind of discard it a little bit. I think it's very important because if Alexander Pešić cannot go for 75, 80 minutes, he again has played something like 16, 17 minutes. It's going to be hot in Israel. Not having Palko there, I think, is a huge blow for the team. So get at least 75, 80 minutes from Pešić. Stankovic also tried on the weekend playing Katai as the false 9, so I think that's something that we can see as well in this match. Stankovic is always up for a surprise. Don't be surprised if Cernic is starting in this match in some capacity, maybe even as a right back, which we've seen kind of like rotation of players with Nikola Stankovic there and Marko Gobelic. Don't be surprised if you see Cernic there tomorrow against Maccabi as a right back. I think the most important part for Red Star is to come home with at least a draw. I don't think that a loss is even the worst result, as long as it's, by a goal or something, God forbid. But I don't think a loss is a huge deal when you're coming home for that second match. A win would be outstanding, but I think a draw would, with the atmosphere that we're going to have in Israel, I think a draw would be very good for the team.